You were just listening to an interview with Andrew Scheer, leader of the opposition, putting pressure on the ethics commissioner to speak up. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau is heading to France for the G7 later this week, and Ontario Premier Doug Ford is giving the green light to some controversial cuts. For more on this and other political news, I'm joined by the Globe and Mail's Laura Stone. Good to have you here.
Good morning, Anne-Marie.
Not how often are you this close to the federal opposition leader?
I know, I said hi backstage. Yeah. It was great.
Anything that you want to pick up on from this interview?
Well, I think that Mr. Scheer's comments about China were interesting because that is going to be one of the key issues when the G7 leaders get together on Sunday in France. The Conservatives have been quite critical over the Trudeau government's handling of the China situation. And of course, we have two men who are languishing in detention for the past 9 months in China, and we have a very complicated situation with that country as well. The United States is engaged in a trade war with China right now. So I think that will be one of at least the key foreign affairs issues heading into this October election. And we can see that narrative forming from the Conservatives that this relationship has been mishandled, and it's also punishing Canadian farmers and pork producers as well.
Yeah, we heard Mr. Scheer echoing those comments. I want to talk about SNC-Lavalin, hearing from the Conservatives and the NDP parties have called for a hearing. They want to hear directly from the ethics commissioner tomorrow on SNC-Lavalin. What is likely to happen here?
The short answer is I don't know. The Liberals, I wouldn't want to predict. The Liberals are in a very difficult spot here. Of course, this is an issue that they don't want to keep bringing up. It has hurt them traditionally in the polls, and we see the Conservatives and Liberals pretty much neck and neck now heading into this October election. At the same time, the Liberals really push transparency and independence at committees, so they don't want to be seen or accused of a cover-up or shutting down this meeting. It's possible they will allow the ethics commissioner, Mario Dion, to testify about his report, and he likely won't deviate from what is in that report, but the Liberals don't want to make headlines about this. Prime Minister Trudeau has been asked about it pretty much every day now since the ethics report landed. The Liberals could call some of their own witnesses potentially to bolster their case, but I would suspect that they don't want to have to talk about this at committee, just a few short months before the election.
If you're just tuning in, Ben had asked Andrew Scheer about why ask for an RCMP investigation on top of everything else. When Jody Wilson-Raybould had said, look, I don't think he has done anything illegal, the ethics commissioner had found that he was guilty of conflict of interest. Why still an RCMP investigation? And he said new information has come to light. Does anyone know what that is?
Well, I think that the ethics report showed that there was some information withheld from the ethics commissioner. So, we're not police officers, we're not lawyers. Could there be an obstruction of justice case here? I just think that, as well, we also learned that Jody Wilson-Raybould had been previously contacted by the RCMP in the spring when this story first broke. So I think the new information is simply, many of the details that are contained in the ethics commissioner's report, some of the relationships between SNC-Lavalin and Supreme Court judges, for instance, things that the public just hadn't heard about since the ethics commissioner, until the ethics commissioner released his report. Andrew Scheer and other politicians can call on the RCMP to do whatever they want. At the end of the day, it's going to be the police that decides whether this is worth investigating or not. It will be interesting to see if they provide any additional information about that before the October election.
We were also speaking with Andrew Scheer about what his plan for Ontario is. News for Ontario today, Premier Doug Ford announcing they're going to move ahead with those controversial funding cuts to public health and childcare next year. So this means all municipalities, including the City of Toronto, will now pay 30% of the public health care costs. That starts January 1st. Municipalities also have to pay 20% of the cost of creating new childcare spaces, which the province had previously funded. What has the reaction been so far?
Well, that depends who you ask. Premier Doug Ford has softened his stance somewhat on this. He was going to make municipalities, and especially the City of Toronto, pay more before he actually backtracked on this a few months ago. The cuts were also going to be retroactive to this year. Now they're going to institute so-called transitional funding for municipalities. We don't really know the details of that. But look, at the end of the day, no one wants to pay more. The municipalities say they are concerned about how this will impact the public health care system. Again, another raucous kind of relationship here between the province and some of the municipalities in Ontario. And, this kind of set the tone for the week. And, Doug Ford's supposed to stay out of the headlines. We've seen that's not exactly been successful over the summer. And so I don't think that this would help Andrew Scheer, gain momentum in Ontario.
Laura, good to have you here. Thanks for coming in.
Thank you.
Thanks for watching. If you like this, be sure to subscribe here.
And you can check out more Your Morning videos right here.